Okay, we are live. Ami, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just so happy that I have a chance to talk to you live. I've been watching you since my husband introduced you to me 4 months ago. He was like, I think all your questions, maybe she'll be able to answer. Okay, so I have to give him credit. So here, the whole point about us having a discussion is honestly. I want to beat Bollywood to its own game. So because they're already releasing things like Brahmastra, they're releasing Ramayana. They have released Shakuntalam. So I'm like, if we are not talking more about the original narratives,
Yeah.
I'm really worried that things might get lost. So thank you so much for being here. We watch all your Prasar Bharati, Bhopal Literature Festival, Jaipur Dialogues. I mean, you name it. I watched almost a lot of them. Of course, not like Girija ji. I think she has watched everything of
Oh
yours.
my
That's
God.
what she claims. Her son has read your Mahabharata Unravelled, so he's excited. He's hoping, he's busy right now, but he's hoping that you'll come back and he can ask you questions back. So, just wanted to, I've seen a lot of your work. I wanted to ask you things that are deeply personal to me, and I know that a lot of people around me are going through. So, as far as scriptures, Hindu philosophy, Hindu scriptures are concerned, I just want to understand for myself and for those who are my loved ones who can glean something from what you have learned yourself uh, about the relevance of all of that
Hmm.
Eastern wisdom in our modern lives. Especially for me, I live in the US, separated from my motherland, 8,000 miles away, 20 years since I've been here. But things that I always fall back on are what our Hindu scriptures teach us. That's what I feel like. So I just wanted to start off with the first question. So Girija ji actually. So I just threw a few sentences at her and all my ideas, and she was like, "Okay, let me put them together and everything." So I really give her credit. She's one of our hosts here. So we are a few justice warriors for Sushant Singh Rajput because there is something which is not so right in what has happened to him. So we are trying to figure out what has happened, and we are trying to see this movement to its justice. So I welcome all the viewers as well. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to understand how to live an optimal life, using falling back on Eastern philosophy, I think Amy is the person for that because I've learned so much from her myself. So guys, thank you for being here. So the first question is, this is almost kind of bad things happen to good people, kind of a thing. So even in the morning, I woke up to the news that one of our very close team members here has had a very, very horrific setback in their life. Like I cannot even describe. Even when I'm talking, I can feel my air in my lungs getting constricted when I'm talking about the thing. So if they're such a good person, how can such tragedy befall on them? Like if you're doing everything right, uh, dharmically, how if you're trying to follow on the path, do everything right, uh, and still come through such setbacks, how do you keep going?
Yeah. So first of all, Rachna ji, thank you so much for having me. I hope I can live up to some expectation that whatever I say might be of use to somebody. As you said, I could help people lead an optimal life. I don't know. I don't think I live my life that optimally, so I don't really know. I'll just share whatever little I've been able to glean through our shastras and whatever Krishna Kripa has helped me, study and read. So pretty much it's that. Uh, the question you ask is an interesting one, right? Like good things happen to bad people. We hear this all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I am not going to dismiss it, saying that oh, aisa nahi hota hai. But the point is, one, what is good and bad? That is the first question. Second, um, like for example, okay. Second, who is it that never faces any downturn in life? If we look at our scriptures, Every single person, even those whom we call gods, have faced tragedies in their lives, right? We think of Krishna as somebody who's always happy, who's the utsaha, he's in utsav mode. But to think of his life since he was born, Mrityu was chasing him all around since he was born. Yeah, born in a jail, separated from his parents, just 11 years old. What happens? He has to go and kill his own uncle. Yeah, so there is never a time in his life really that he has no problems. Look at and at the end, look at the end of Krishna, right? What happens to him? He sees his entire family perish in front of him. So was it good thing happening to bad people? What? Okay, now let's look at Sri Ram. His life is also a karuna, life of karuna, right? That happens to everybody. For that matter, even if we look at who we consider bad people, there are some bad things happening in their lives also. See the end that they meet. Be it Duryodhana, Karna, anybody, be it Ravan. There are parts in their life when they are supremely successful. There will be parts in their life when everything just comes crashing, right? So how do we understand this? There is a beautiful story in the it's a Chinese story and I love it, and I quote it a lot of times.
Yeah.
It talks about this farmer in China, and he buys a horse, a new horse, like those Arbi Ghoda, very muscled and beautiful horse.
Yeah.
So his neighbors come to him and they admire the horse and they're like, "Oh, this is so great! You are so lucky. Look at all this beautiful horse that you bought." So this farmer is like, yeah, okay, we'll see good or bad, good or, lucky or unlucky. I don't know. It is what it is. And they're like, look at this man. What is he saying? Acha, after some days, what happens? His young son, he's going riding the horse.
Yeah.
And he has a fall. In that fall, he fractures his leg. Again, the neighbors come and they're like, "Arey baap re, dear, we were thinking this horse was so good. Look at this. His bichara son, he's fallen and going through all this pain, da da da, all of that. How unlucky is this farmer? Such a bad thing to happen to him. He's not even done anything bad to anybody. Still, such a bad thing happened to his young son. Still, the farmer is in his own, tandri, and he's like, yeah, okay, hota hai. Let's see, good or bad, who knows? After some days, they hear about a war in the kingdom. Yeah. The king has gone on a war with an enemy state and they want to enlist all the young boys
Yeah.
in that region. Now, when they want to list all the young boys in the region, this farmer's son, because
Son also
he has
qualifies.
leg broken, he
Yeah.
doesn't qualify for that, right?
Oh,
But the
oh,
other neighbors, their sons have to all go.
okay.
So then what is good, what is bad? Anything looked in a certain time frame might be good or might be bad. But eventually what happens, right? If a thing like and you look at lot of people who've become successful in life eventually, there will be some this very big downturn or very big what seemed like a failure at that time that they face through. The point is, how do people come out of that downfall?
Yeah. Yeah.
That determines how happy, sad, successful, unsuccessful that they will become in life eventually, right? And that attitude to live through the downfall, I feel that somewhere our scriptures really, really help to develop that attitude. That the stories, as I said, everybody goes through good times and bad times. That's one. The second point I want to say is we believe in karma siddhanta, right? So whatever happens to us is an outcome of whatever we've done in a way.
Yeah.
We may not immediately see it
Yeah.
because we also believe in punarjanma. So in that system, what we say is something that might have happened in the past as well, which you're not aware of, might come out in this life because you always have to pay, good or bad. If it's a good thing, you will gain from it. If it's a bad thing, if the intention was bad, and if it is done with a bad bhav, Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya, then it will appear. So many times, what we may not know now might have been what we say sanskaras that have come,
Yeah.
the balance from the past. But again, is there no way to get out of it? Of course there is. The point is, how do you deal with that downturn in current life? That is the whole point, right? Otherwise, if it's not so fatalistic to say कि अच्छा बुरा हुआ है तो बुरा ही होगा.
Right.
because we don't even know what that past was. The thing in our hand is how do we deal with that in the current situation, right? So I really think people should not never think, yeah, bad things happen to good people or good things happen to bad people.
Mm,
Everybody goes through that phase in life. ऊपर नीचे चलते ही रहता है. Look at
mm.
anybody around you, right?
Right.
तो वो आया है. Now there will be pain. Of course, we should grieve. Not to say that emotions नहीं होना चाहिए, but how do you get out of it? Because there will be time to get out of it as well, right? Sukha dukha, they always go together. It is always a dichotomy. It's never singular.
How do you leverage grief, and how do you move forward? Basically, that's what you're trying to say. And as the Chinese gentleman, at that time, falling down for the child and like breaking his leg was a bad thing, but he did not have to enlist himself for the war. So, it depends on perspective as well, as you said. That's just amazing. Thank you so much. So here, Girija ji is here. I just wanted to welcome her. She is, if I have to describe her in one word, it is Seva. The only thing she is thinking of, how can I be outward, thinking outside for other than myself. So it's just, thank you, Girija ji, for being here. If you want to go ahead with one of your questions, please.
It's such bliss listening to her all the time. I keep listening. Actually, my son introduced you to me. He brought that book, on Mahabharata first, and he said demystifying Mahabharata, and he read it and he said, "Mama, he's just 26. He is in India and now I'm in Chicago." And he told me specially, so sorry he couldn't join, but he's definitely going to join.
But I'm looking forward to meeting him. Even Rajraj, he was telling me about him.
Yes, absolutely. I think there is a little bit of lag there. So I'll go ahead with my question, Ami. So here, I'm calling you Ami because I feel like you are already like, so Ami ji, I completely.
No, please. Ami is completely okay. Ami is completely okay. Please, drop the G.
So, okay, thank you. So here, um, we see a lot of so we are a lot of people here fighting for justice, a lot of us outside in the in the work life, even in your personal life, even if you try to lift them up, even if you try to give them some positive something to think positively and everything, they seem to be stuck in that victim mindset kind of a thing. You can see that it is very degenerative for them. You can see that from a distance. You try to be objective about it, but if you are like somehow related to them, uh, you just get emotionally bogged down by their suffering and everything. So is there a way to help people uh, who are stuck in this vicious cycle of victimhood? And
Okay,
I know
I'm
that you
going
have talked about Karna. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually going to talk about Karna, but I would also be very blunt here, right?
Okay.
Only those can be helped who want to be helped. That is one. Yeah. Second, they have to be aware that they need help,
Yes.
which is not the case all the time. And actually, in Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna talks about different kinds of personalities. He kinds of talks about different kinds of buddhis, right? He says Satviki, Rajasi, and Tamasic. So there are some who have such high tamasikta in them that whatever they are they are faced with, or whatever they see in life, it will always be negative. Do whatever, right? Now, what do you do about these people? Unless and until they realize that, okay, whatever is happening is not the right approach to life. The way I am dealing with things is not right. There is really no way they can change. People can keep telling them, and as friends, that's the best we can do. We can point out to them where where that approach is wrong. But the desire to change has to come from within, right? Because if you look at all whom we call villains in our shastras, right? One, who is a villain and who is a hero? It's not because of some race or an identity or a caste or a community or anything. Our shastras are very clear. They say whoever is working, deciding, acting from a position of kam, krodha, lobha, moha, mad, matsarya, the Shadaripu, yeah. So intense attachment, infatuation, anger, greed, matsarya, jealousy, ego, right? Whoever is acting from that position are and because of that causing harm in the society, they are villains. The heroes are the one who live life with what they call indriya nigraha, more control over their senses, more control over the impulses. who are not doing something only because of anger, who are not doing something only because of jealousy. They're acting in a way they should act, which is in the greater good of the society. Yeah. They are the heroes and the others are the villains. Now, people who are always acting from that point of Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. Now, when we talk about victimhood, it's the same thing, right? It is intense attachment to one's failures, to one's insecurities. They are not willing to get out of it. To one's jealousies. Like you mentioned Karna. What was the issue with Karna? Always in the victimhood mode.
Yeah.
Even if somebody said something, and jealousy mode, yeah. If somebody said something good about Arjun, he would take it personally.
Yes.
उसको तो कुछ बोला भी नहीं है still, yeah. And there are people like that around. Like kids, of course, have a little bit of that tendency which goes away as they grow up. But no, there are people who will just not listen. They will appraise of others is supposedly, they think they are being looked down upon.
Right.
Anything wrong that happens, they feel it is somebody else's fault and not their own. Yeah. Again, Krishna has a very interesting thing to say about success and failures in life. He says that success and failures depend on 5 things. Adhisthana karta, karma, karana, and prithakvida cheshta, and panchamiti daivam. He's panchamiti daivam. So basically, he's like the doer, the resources that they use, the processes that are used, the surrounding conditions which are taken care of before starting a task. These 4, and then the 5th he says is daivam, the aspect of destiny. But 4 are purusharthas, right? Now these purusharthas, unless and until one puts an effort, whether the success or failure comes, one cannot decide, right? So when people who are in this victim mode, they will always blame others for what they have not done, rather than looking within and saying, okay, where can I improve?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if on the other hand, it is also a lazy way of getting out of things, right? It is escapism, because then it's easy for you to not do anything. If you just blame somebody else for a problem, you don't have to do anything. But if you sit down, realize you have a problem, you have to do something about it. So sometimes there is resistance to even accept it. Now, what do you do in that case? I genuinely believe that if there are people like that around us, and if we can help, if there's somebody in our families like that, we probably can't do much about it, because there are things we need to do. But if we can, keep away, because that negativity will only pull us down. It's getting influenced by negativity is actually easier, because we are inherently lazy. The mind is inherently lazy. If we can find external factors to make us feel good, we will always do that. So if we can avoid that, remove such people from the life who are not willing to seek help or even realize that they have a problem.
Wow. So the 5th thing about anugraha, can you explain that? So 4 are purusharthas, right? And then the 5th one. Okay, so 4 are in our,
4 are in our control. The 5th, there is an element of destiny, or as we were talking in the first part, right? There is always an element which is not in our control. Now, this could be what we call daiva. In mathematics, we call it probability. In project management, we call it risk factor. Right? In spite of doing everything, there might be some of it which might not go according to what we expect it to go to. Now, that could be because it is a sign that something else is meant for us, right? Or it is some past karma which is fructifying at that point and leading us on a different direction. Yeah. Now, good or bad can happen only when we accept it. We say, okay, fine, bring it my way, let me face it and let me move ahead. But again, that is only one aspect. The first, if something has not happened our way, the first is to see, did I go wrong in the other 4?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is the best I can do, right? All that I have done by itself, my readiness to accept the situation will increase, because I'm like, I've done everything I can. If it has still not happened, fine, let me see what else. Right? So it still depends on the first 4, what I can do. And then the 5th factor, where then after doing everything, if it's still not going my way, then I don't need to sit and cry and be depressed. Then I just say, okay, let life happen. Let it come my way, I'll see. Now here also, this is a beautiful story from Ramayana, which I love. I think I must have said it like 100 times. But every time I say it, I also feel good about it. The whole thing about Sri Ram accepting to go to jungle, to go for Vanavas, right? We are generally told that that's because he was very obedient to his father and his father said go, so he went. But it's really not that simple. because Lakshman tells him that what you're doing is not right. You
Yeah.
are not only a son, you're also a Kshatriya. As a Kshatriya, if you see injustice somewhere, you must oppose it. But Sri Ram first tells him, no, no, we should listen to our father and all that. But then he says something very interesting. He says, there is nothing that I have done till now that should make Kaikeyi, Mata Kaikeyi, feel like this about me, that she would want to hurt me.
Yeah.
Even more importantly, she has never behaved like this in this way before. Yeah, she has loved me as much as she has loved Bharat. Third thing, my father, who cannot live without me, has actually chosen to go with his wife's
Yeah.
choice rather than go with his decision or the
Yeah.
decision of Ayodhya to crown me the prince. So clearly, this situation is such where which one I cannot make sense of, because
Yeah.
everything that was in my control I have done, but still something has happened which is asankalpitam akasmikam. He said something that has suddenly happened and completely out of my control.
Mhm.
This could only be a work of destiny. Krutanteva drashtavyam, he says. And if this is the work of destiny, I shouldn't fight it. I will only know when I let it play out. So at this point, the right thing to do is not to resist,
Yeah.
but to flow with the flow. What we say, right? Let life happen. Be open to possibilities in the life. So that is the importance of the fifth factor, and that is the importance of this whole philosophy that our rishis have given us. How to deal with life even in a downturn.
Very
Wow.
true. That is why they simply say, that when one window closes, there may be another door opening, but we are only looking at the closed door, and
Correct?
then we don't see that there could be a better opportunity or better development.
Absolutely,
We don't know
absolutely.
what awaits us, all because we operate from fear or doubt. That is the biggest
And
sin.
obsession. We think what we think is only the right thing, right? This is only
Absolutely.
one way of being happy. This is only one way of success. That's
Exactly.
how we define ourselves. We limit ourselves in our own definitions.
Yes, our vision itself is limited, right? We do not
Correct.
know many perspectives, right? And there is this question that children come up with. Rachna is okay because now
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mind,
Please go
yes.
ahead.
So children all the time say that, okay, you say that good karma leads to good future, but then why is it the child when is born, he's born with cancer, right? So it is just like what Karna says, that why was I born in such a time that I had to be put in the water and sent away, right? So from there it starts. So people who want to blame, they will always say, oh, they find 100 reasons why so many people are born poor.
Mhm.
What did they do to do deserve that, right? So what is it in our power to do? Let's do that. What they are doing, what they have got is their karma. But what is in our karma? Is it to do good for them, or is it just to be a witness? That's what
Correct.
I say. So are we just going to observe that, or are we going to do something about it, whatever we can? So this is what we need to tell our scriptures. So are there good examples that we can give the children, so that they understand that, okay, somebody is doing what is in their karma, and we need to do what is in our karma.
So this is actually initially, as I said, right? Like we take the lives of anybody, be it Krishna, be it Sri Ram, be it Pandavas who grew up where in the forest. Fatherhood also not known, right? It is only much later that they come back. Okay, all this jane do. The first point which you spoke about, some people are born with cancer. How do you explain that, right? Now, we know the story of Ganga and Shantanu. That Bhishma, he was the eighth child. There were seven children born before him. The mother herself gives birth to them and puts them in the water.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I like the story. Why? Because it says we think that death is always bad. For those seven, it was mukti for something else. But they had to go through this life for that short period. Same thing for Abhimanyu. It is said that he was given for a few years and then called back to the heaven, right? Now, these stories, fact or fiction, I don't know. Yeah. But the wisdom in them is huge. Because sometimes some people are just born to achieve that mukti, which others try so long for, right? So that by itself is not necessarily bad. Again, the thing is about what do we define as good and bad, right? That definition itself needs to be expanded. That what is good and what is bad. Anything that we do from a position of Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya, that is bad. That will leave an impact which will fructify in a future situation which might not work in our favor and give us pain. It is always going to be like that, nothing else. Yeah. From what position are we doing an action? That is why Krishna, he tells Arjun that the question is not about you killing or not killing. The question is with what bhav. Do you have the karta bhav, or are you doing it with a nimitta matra bhav? Yeah. And doing it without kam, krodha, lobha, moha, mat, matsarya. You must go and kill your relatives, not out of anger. Kill them because they deserve to be killed. They deserve punishment, because whatever they are doing is not in the interest of the society. And as a kshatriya, as a warrior, as a king, it is your dharma to do that, right? So how do we perform an action? With what approach do we perform an action is really what decides what the future karma is going to be, right? But as you mentioned, how should we act in the situation of people thinking good or bad? Best example is Krishna, right? As I was saying before, his entire life, he has had problems only since the time he was born, right? He was born in a jail, went and lived with cowherds. Okay, when we see in television that, oh, they have a nice big house and all of that, you can imagine we are talking about for so many years ago, born in a cowherd family or grew up in a cowherd family, a person who actually deserved to be in the palace, right? Life wouldn't have been easy. He went as a kid, he would go out and take the cows charne ke liye, right? So, but still, what was the bhav with which he lived his life? That was of celebration, right? When he tells Arjun that we become equanimous to happiness and joy, that is the way to achieve peace, the sthita pragnata, right? He's actually lived that in his life. Don't be so hung up on good or bad. Be hung up on, are you giving the best to the situation in front of you? Are you doing whatever you can with the right intention, right? And within that limitation, that limitation, we are not gods. We will never know whether it's exactly right or wrong. We don't know, but at least is the bhav correct? That is the best we can do. Have we given our 100%? That's the best we can do. And that is why Krishna, when he talks in Gita, he's always talking about Yogastha Buddhi. Yeah. And he says, do everything without Yogastha Buddhi. What is Yogastha Buddhi? Yogastha Buddhi is complete objectivity. What is complete objectivity? When we act from a position of Sakshi Bhav, so I say this a lot of times. I'm a consultant by profession. Yeah. So lots of businesses call us. Some people who have way more experience in a particular sector than I would ever have. Still, they would call consultants and pay them. Why? Why would they pay them? We do not have the domain knowledge which they have, right? If I had to go out and sell their product, I would do a terrible job. But still, they call me and they pay me because I bring what we call the third party perspective.
Yes.
What is a third party perspective? A detached perspective, an objective perspective.
Exactly.
Can we become objective in our own heads and pull ourselves out of that attachment, that infatuation, that calm krodha, and take a decision? That is what Krishna tells us. That is what all our Shastras tell us. That is the underlying theme of all our Shastras. How to develop that sense of equanimity and objectivity to be able to take better decisions in our life.
Absolutely. Now, another question that people ask is, like youngsters, when we tell them read the
I think, let me see, just think her internet is fluctuating. So, Ami, I was thinking I will become selfish and I'll ask you the question that's on my mind. My 18-year-old is going to
son is
go off to
different.
college, hopefully.
but in the scripture.
So,
You lost the line?
yeah. Girijaji, yes, you can go ahead if you can. Let's see
Yeah.
if you can. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say that youngsters, they want to know whether the scriptures will give them only spiritual wisdom or worldly wisdom. So we know that lot of worldly wisdom to deal with everyday life is there, but they think it is all Sanskrit slokas and there is nothing about it, and the stories don't relate them to the life. They don't have the patience to go through that. So books like yours, we need to spread it across and share more of these talks. So I would request you to do as many talks like this, because this is what children listen to when even they are driving, when they are traveling. So this is how they are going to get the wisdom out of it, and then they will go back to the scriptures and read it. In our days, even we were not told. So another confusion that comes is there are so many scriptures. So what are the
Yeah.
scriptures that we should read? Because we don't know. It is an ocean. So if you can
Yeah.
recommend 2 or 3 things which every Hindu should read, or everybody should read, if you
Okay.
can.
Before that, I'll just add to one point which you mentioned, right? That with the worldly wisdom part. It's
Yes.
interesting in Gita, in the second adhyaya itself, Krishna talks about yoga karmasu kaushalam. Karmasu kaushalam, excellence in every activity
Right.
that you get through having an equanimous mind, right? So,
Right.
we talk about adhyatmikta, spirituality. These are all big things. Forget all of that.
Correct.
नहीं भी मिला वो नहीं पता चला whether God exists or not, that doesn't matter. Yeah, all that doesn't matter. If it is helping me take the proper decisions in life,
Right
that
now.
itself is a for everything, right? It could be in
Yes.
choosing a partner, it could be in choosing a career, it could be dealing with a ethical dilemma that has come my way.
Yeah.
If that approach and attitude is helping me, that is all for worldly wisdom itself, right?
Yeah.
Also, how to think of our shastras as not being about worldly wisdom or worldly pleasures is also quite mistaken, because we talk about chaturvida purushartha, moksha, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Moksha I won't talk about, but we also have artha and kama, right?
Yes.
Kama is desire, kama is also love and lust, right? Pleasure in life. We do not look down upon having pleasure in life. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the situation is that the batch of students is passing out and their teacher is giving them a convocation address. There he says, Kushalan na pramaditavya, bhutyaihi na pramaditavya. Do not ignore your welfare. Do not ignore even your material pleasure. Yeah, he's telling them, because only when we are physically also materially satisfied can we think of going to the next level of Maslow's hierarchy, right? So all
Exactly.
that has to be met, and it has not been looked down upon our shastras at all. It is, in fact, it says karmasu karmasu kaushalam. Do that also to the best of your abilities. Yeah. So that is the other thing. Now to the question that what books should we read? I think again, I think different things work for different people. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, but I would say if we are just starting off on this path, and also it depends from whether it's a kid or an old person or whatever. Say if it's a kid, then Panchatantra and all that, stories of Krishna, stories of Sri Ram, all these are always good to start. But say somebody in the 20s, late
Yes.
20s, 30s, like people like us who want to start off, I would say Gita is a great place to start. Yeah, Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Ramayana is a very good place to start. Mahabharata is great. Mahabharata is huge, so sometimes reading the text becomes a little difficult. But Ramayana is not that huge. Bhagavad Gita is already a great starter, and I see Bhagavad Gita because it helps develop a drishti towards even reading the text. Otherwise, what happens is we get too hung up on certain things which don't appeal to us in present day and age. Yeah, we have to be able to say that, acha, this matters to me, I'll take it. This doesn't seem relevant as of now. Let me not dismiss it and become so anti that thing, rather than just let me leave it for now. At some point, maybe I will know. At some point, maybe I'll understand. So itihas is great to start because it's a story. Yeah, it is easy to read and understand. It's like a case study of the lives of our ancestors from which we have to learn. Again, I would request, don't read itihas also from the point of view of judging people. It's always easy to judge. There will be questions, ask questions, yeah. But the purpose of our shastras is to make our life better. So rather than saying, oh, was Ram right or not? He was wrong, he was misogynist, he was casteist, da da da. That doesn't help anybody.
Exactly.
We have to learn how they made decisions in their life. What did those decisions lead to? What happens to us when we are faced with those decisions? Yeah. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't question. We must question. But the questioning has to come from a position of trying to understand and know rather than to dismiss. Yeah. Because one thing we must bear in mind, we have come, we will die. Those stories have sustained for centuries together. There must be something to it which probably we don't understand at this point, maybe few years down the line. with more life experiences, right? So we don't need to dismiss and judge, or even if we do that, that's fine, but have an open mind of wanting to learn. Yeah. So as I said, Bhagavad Gita is great to start. Ramayana, Mahabharata. For Bhagavad Gita, as we read, it's better to be listening as well. If we have a guru, great. If not, talks of Chinmay Mission, talks of certain professors like B. Mahadevan, of certain gurus from RK Mission like Sarvapriyananji, they are really, really helpful. So read not, but read along with listening to some of these people who bring in the right perspective of how to make sense of it, because otherwise it will become very abstract. Yeah. The other good thing to then continue would be some of the Upanishads, in which I would totally, totally recommend Katha Upanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad. Yeah. Again, RK Mission, Chinmay Mission, they have great books, very easy to understand. So that's also a great place to continue, not to start, I would say. But again, different things work for different people. Let's, the one suggestion I will have is not to jump on Vedas, because otherwise we will not, I mean, they are quite cryptic for us to understand. There are shlokas and all that we should read and understand, but let's not try to read it, because even the language is cryptic. Translations are, I don't know, they don't always
Do
Reflect the
justice.
make
sense.
sense so easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dharma Shastras, I would say even those, because they have a lot to do with do's and don'ts. And it's very easy to get to get embroiled into this. Oh, does this work now? Does this not work now? Oh, that society was so this, that, yeah, putting labels. So even that, I think it's a later day job. Even if we don't read, doesn't matter. From a perspective building, Gita, Itihas, and some Upanishads are already great. And then I think once people start, right, the path becomes, where you want to go. You will be led in that path. So we don't even need to push ourselves saying,
Exactly.
Ami ne bola hai, read this to read this. No, no, no. You will be led. There might be philosophy that interests somebody, right? Somebody might be deeper into yoga. Somebody might want to understand more of Sankhya and Nyaya.
Yeah.
But make a start and see where it leads you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Rachana, go ahead.
I'm just amazed. I'm planning to put all the chapters like questions and timestamps so that everybody can go back and refer to wherever we were at any given point of time. So, Ami, I'm thinking for myself, right, for my own peace of mind, because I feel like I'm always chasing that, and I prize peace of mind more than anything else. As you were saying, कि victim mindset में जो भी है, मैं दूर भाग जाती हूँ उनसे, because I'm like, okay, यार, actually I only have limited battery and bandwidth in a day. मेरे को बहुत कुछ करना है life में, and I'm like, okay, sorry, maybe you are beyond help, or like, and I just run away. So I'm really like, whatever you are giving me points, I think they're really valuable, and I can see myself implementing those in my life going forward. So, and your references, your Sanskrit references and everything, I'm going to bug my husband to help me decode all those, and I really want to imbibe them. So here, for myself, I'm just, so again, it's just such an emotional topic. Again, you were talking about objectivity, trying to be as detached from the whole, like move away from it, like what even psychology says in the West, right, about objectivity. Because if you're subjective about anything, you cannot be rational about decision making. So my 18-year-old hopefully is going to go to college, let's say. So it's about a few months now, like August mein chala jayega. What is the wisdom that can help me to just, I'm thinking, okay, theek hai, 2 billion moms have done that. They have, even my mom, my mother-in-law, they have all done that, but I cannot survive. So that is what my praghada, what is that? It's like my definite thing for myself, ki I think I will die. So I'm laughing when I say
No one.
Rachna ji, I think every mom feels exactly like you do.
Same.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, maybe there is a 0.01% mothers out there who will be like, haha, jao, it's all fine. Everybody else feels like you and they survive. So it's okay to feel that. There is no bigger bond than a mother and her children, right? And
Yeah.
that Maya is needed. That is why we have it. There is a value and purpose to it, right? So enjoy while your kid is with you. And once he or she goes away, and when you see them being happy in what they do, you are absolutely going to be fine. And I think somewhere that bond should also not go, right? That Maya has to be there. till at least that person, that kid is married. After that, the vanprastha needs to start, where we say, okay, now I don't need to be the decision maker in my child's life, and start moving on, which I think our ancestors.
At that time, I'll do another session.
But I don't think you should beat yourself up over this at all. I think it's the most natural thing. Enjoy it. Also, sometimes missing is also a good feeling. It makes you feel nice, and cherish it as well. All emotions have a purpose. If they didn't have a purpose, they would not be there. That also I believe, right? So while we need to become careful and aware, that are they making us so attached and so deluded and so infatuated that we are doing what we shouldn't do, then it's a problem. But otherwise, we need emotions, right? Emotions are needed for living a fulfilling life. Emotions are needed for bonding with people around us. So also, when Krishna talks about being detached, he's not saying that sab chhod do and become indifferent. No. In fact, the more detached we are not hung up on loving just that one person. We love everybody. That is the point. We expand and include a larger, expanse in our area of, whatever we could call it, of people who we love, and lesser the people who we don't like. Yeah. We have compassion for a larger group of people. So it does not make us, it shouldn't make us indifferent. If it is making us indifferent, then that's a problem. Then we've not done this right.
Exactly. Very well expressed, Rachana.
I'm thinking, so for myself, when I read, so psychology say, Western psychology say, I'm trying to get some answer or something. So I keep thinking the alternative where my bacha is there with me all my life is just so non-appealing. I'm like, okay, good. But then, I'm also anxious at the same time about him. But I think your idea of like able to give up so much love, like 90% of my love on one person, to expand it to a greater, humanity, and share that love different ways. I think that I like that idea, and I'll think of it like that, because even if I am letting him be wherever he is going to be, I have all this love that I can give. And I think that I like that idea. So thank you.
It
So
also gives you more time and space, right, to do things that you wanted to do. So if the situation is such that, oh my God, now the kid has gone and I am like sitting and eating just ice cream and missing him and becoming fat and all that, like, how some youngsters go through when they've had a heartbreak. Now that will be a problem, which I'm sure won't happen. Yeah, that mother's love, that will just go. It will, you will adjust to it and be happier seeing your child grow.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Girjaji, you want to go ahead? Okay. I think she's Girjaji. I think in Chicago, there's some kind of something happening. Okay. I'll just ask a question about even Varun had the same kind of a question. Varun is one of our hosts here, and it is his platform that he started off, Justice for Sushant. So his one of our questions is like, Arjuna's focus, right? Whenever we talk about focus, whenever we talk about like having the eye on the ball kind of a thing anywhere. Excuse me. So you talk about being distraction free. So how can you develop that laser sharp focus, especially since we have started living both online and offline, and from the past 12 years, 15 years, social media and everything, so much of noise. Even for yourself, I just wanted to understand your method of study when you were talking to Girjaji. There's so many scriptures, and you want to get the rust out of every one, but then where do you start, or like how do you keep that eye on that ball until you're done working with it or something? So what have you learned about focus? And yeah, thank you.
So I have not, because I was not studying with a goal of creating something or writing something. Yeah, I think that has just happened. Like, and that's why I keep telling people that be open to life. Sometimes you don't know what comes your way, and if we plan too much, then we lose out on what might have otherwise come our way. So I would rather, I'm not somebody who plans a lot. So I was studying out of the love for studying and out of vismay, out of curiosity of what is it that makes me a Hindu or what makes me a Sanatani. Yeah? Why is it that So I used to live in Hong Kong, and there it was even more prominent when I saw that all of us Indians, yeah,
Yeah.
second generation, third generation, there is a certain approach to living life. There is a certain approach to solving problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a certain approach of being very comfortable even in chaos.
Mm.
And we call it stereotype, but these stereotypes are true. Yeah. And those things, I was like, this is a stereotype and this is true. So what is it? Why is it that we are what we are? So that's how I started studying. And it was like one thing after the other. It started because of yoga. So I started with Patanjali Yoga Sutra, then moved to Bhagavad Gita, then to Mahabharata, then to Ramayana. So that's how it happened, and it just came my way. So I did not try too hard to say, let me do this or that, because I was also working simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But just in terms of concentration, I think there is no better approach to it than what yoga tells us. We talk about mindfulness, dhyan, dharana, meditation, all this is a part of yoga only, right? And there are different approaches to develop that focus. One could be one is of course the Ashtanga yoga. Yeah, start practicing with physical exercise like asana, follow some principles, pranayama and stuff. But I think the whole sitting, being able to sit down, Shanti say, without moving, yeah, I think that really helps develop focus going forward. Now there are different ways of meditating and stuff. I'm saying wahan tak bhi mat jao. When we are starting, just say I will sit quietly for 10 minutes. Let the thoughts come. Yeah, whatever thoughts want to come, let them come. I will just witness those thoughts. I will not react. That's it. And do have some routine, some regiment in life. That helps. So have some discipline in life. That discipline doesn't come naturally. It comes naturally to some people, to others not. I think once we start being a little bit more disciplined in life, focus also starts developing. Then we will know where is it that we are wasting time. Where do we want to take time back from? Now, how do we do that? By having a strong willpower, right? I'm not going deeper into focus because there are lots
Yeah.
of techniques. That itself
Yeah.
will be like a whole podcast, right? But the
Yeah.
idea is we will need to be aware that time waste kahin to ho raha hai. There are things
Yeah.
I want to achieve in the time that I have. How do I do that? By being disciplined. How do I be disciplined or even get focus and everything? Only one way: abhyas, abhyas, and abhyas. There is no other way.
Mm.
Once we decide we want to do something, we have to be at it. So the one thing which I think I do well is this: if I decide something, I'm a ghissu that way. Yeah, I'll keep doing it. कि कर रहे हो
Okay.
कर रहे हो. Not necessarily with a goal in mind, but करना है तो करना है. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the approach that I typically use. I think that is also what we get trained in a lot of Indian households.
Yeah.
So that's great, right? कि
Yeah.
घिसना है. We learn to ghiso. And it's not bad at all. I think that approach to abhyas, abhyas, and abhyas is important. Krishna says that. He says abhyas. So when Arjun asks him, he says that you're talking about all this controlling the
Yeah.
mind, and all. It's easy to say, but controlling the mind is like trying to hold wind. You can't do
Yeah.
it. It's that difficult. Na? Bolna to aasan hai. This is exactly what he's telling Krishna. And Krishna says, you are right. But there is a way to do it, and that's the only way. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena tu grahayate. Through abhyas and through a sense of detachment. But through abhyas, forget the detachment part also. The abhyas, and abhyas. The same thing comes in Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, where Patanjali is saying that yoga is quietening the mind. How do you quieten the mind? Abhyasa vairagyabhyam. No other way. So that willpower and that practice and the patience, there is no substitute to it. वो तो चाहिए ही चाहिए. The willpower and effort to put in the practice and patience to carry on.
I think I see what you're saying here because I see sometimes in some aspects of my life which I'm extremely interested in and everything. I don't even have to worry about focus because it just comes naturally.
It just
And like,
comes.
yeah, I'm just like greedy. I just want to find out more. I'm like so focused. Sometimes I lose track of time and everything. But as you said, that aspect of trying to find out what you're trying to achieve and always like do everything that will lead you up to there. I think that's discipline to do that. Okay, Girjaji, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a question that children come and say, people say your Krishna had did so many tricks at the war. He had so many gopies when he was young. Rama actually
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if this is like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm so confused why this is happening. Okay. So here, I'll just go ahead and talk because uh,
Huh, she's back.
Girjaji, I'm sorry. Yeah, say it again because we missed that out.
Yes, so I was saying the children come and talk about to each other, and they say, "Your God, Krishna, he did many tricks at the war. He had so many gopis when he was young. Rama actually, killed Vali from behind, and he asked his wife to prove his purity." But actually, when I have listened to your discussion, I realize they're all myths. So can we just quickly go through that so that people understand that
Mhm.
they have the originals? Vyasa original is there, and similarly Valmiki
Mhm.
is there, because there are questions about, there are a lot of interpretations about
Yeah. So, okay, so I get the question and I'll start answering.
Sure, sure.
There are some myths, the others are not necessarily myths. Yeah. For example, this killing of Vali from behind, it is not a myth, it happens. Sri Ram actually kills Vali from behind. Again, here, the question is what is right and what is wrong? And having a sense of what do we call right and what do we call wrong is extremely important in the world today, especially with so much wokeism all around us, right? We call our religion, we don't call our dharma as religion. Religion is a very small aspect of dharma. What is dharma? Dharma is dharayati iti dharma. Now I'm not going into the whole big Sanskrit definition of it, but we talk of sustainability today. Yeah. And we think sustainability is a new term. It's not. Sustainability is dharma. Dharma, the root word is dhru, which is to uphold. Dharma is the large principle, the overarching principle that sustains and upholds. Sustains and upholds what? This society, this samaj, any system. Yeah, any system, for it to sustain, continue, thrive, there has to be an overarching principle. That overarching principle is what we call dharma. Okay. Now, when we say God, or avatar. Yeah, we call Krishna Ram as avatar. Why do avatars come, or why do we have that conception, that idea of them coming? We say for dharma sansthapan, for establishing dharma, right? That means for establishing a society which can thrive and progress in a way that is sustainable, right? Which means to do that they have to do what they have to do. Now, in with this in mind, now let's talk about right, wrong, and killing of Vali. Yeah, the killing of Vali happens. It's not a myth. He does kill him from behind. Yeah, Vali asks. Vali's like, "This is not right. Why did you kill me from behind? I did not even have any enmity with you. What you did was very sinful, not right at all, not befitting of you." Sri Ram says, what right and wrong are you talking about? Do you even understand what is dharma and adharma? I was not fighting with you that I couldn't have killed you from behind. I was punishing you.
exactly.
And I was punishing you for a sin that you committed, which is absolutely not allowed in a civilized society. What is that sin?
Wife.
You violated your younger brother's wife while she was still alive against her wishes,
Yes.
right? And a man who looks with that bad drishti towards his mother, sister, uh, daughter, or daughter in law, he deserves to be killed. Sugriev's wife is like your daughter in law, like your daughter. What you did. So, to understand it in the larger context, if this kind of incest keeps happening, can you imagine what society this would become? Right?
Yes.
Only based on lust, no security, no sanctity of relations, nothing, right?
Yes.
Hence, he says that a person who cannot even control his lust towards his own daughter, and Sugriev's
Yes,
wife
wife.
was like your daughter-in-law, you needed to be punished. So I have punished you as a representative of Bharat, because all this area we are Chakravartis and this is under us. So
Yes.
I have only followed my Raj Dharma and punished you, right?
Yeah, this explanation children need to have. So I heard it
Exactly.
in your other video, so I wanted that to come. Yes.
And that is such an important thing, right? So even today,
Yes.
and why does it matter today? Because our whole concept of violence, non-violence, all that has gone for a toss. We
Yes.
look at a terrorist who is getting hanged or who is being punished, and we all cry for that terrorist. Why? Because we are like, no, non-violence, non-violence, non-violence. That is not non-violence. That is violence against society.
Yes.
Because if he'll be left alive, he will kill more people. So by
Exactly.
practicing non-violence on that guy who's a criminal, we are
Yes.
committing violence against the society.
That's
Such
what wokeism
society
is all
cannot
about,
sustain.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hence the right and wrong has always to be seen from this perspective.
Yes.
Policy making has to be seen from this perspective. It can't just be non-violence as a blanket. Yeah, that's not how it works.
Yes. Very well. Thank you so much for giving that clarity, because a lot of confusion about these things. Because today, all these activists, there will be thousands of people dying in one place. They have not bothered, and they're
Correct.
talking about the terrorist who killed those people. Oh,
Correct.
that is not right. So this is what has been happening. So you pointed out something very, very beautiful, and these things are not out in the open. Similarly, about your explanation about Draupadi, that she laughed at Duryodhana and so she invited problem. She,
Yeah.
the description is you have given the description.
Oh
So
my God. So this is the other thing. Again, this is an example of what mental laziness, mental lethargy does to us, right?
yes,
So one is, yes, this incident of Draupadi laughing and saying, Andhe ka putra andha, blind man's son is blind. It
yeah,
doesn't exist in Mahabharata. Yeah. So
exactly.
it is anyways a cooked up story. It doesn't exist. But I will add to this. Even if it was, even if she had laughed, how is the fault hers? Was
And somebody,
she there when Duryodhan tried to kill Bhima when they came back from the forest when they were kids, young boys?
yeah,
Draupadi wasn't there.
yeah,
Where was Draupadi when Duryodhan tried to burn the five brothers with their mother in that Lakshagraha?
yeah,
Draupadi
exactly.
wasn't there. So
Yeah,
was she the reason for the jealousy and the hatred that Duryodhan had for Pandavas? No,
absolutely not.
right?
Yes,
Not at all.
yeah,
So that hatred was always there. It was not made by Draupadi. But
exactly,
what happens? You know what happens? We are very easy to pull blame, like put blames on people. Easy. We don't want
exactly,
to think so much, right? So
exactly,
we are usually told that wars happen because of jar joru jameen. Either it's some property
exactly.
issue, either it's some wealth issue, or it's a woman issue.
Yeah, if the woman
Easy.
laughs,
Draupadi.
then everything will go. So don't laugh.
Yeah,
This is what
yeah.
we have heard as children. Even when you're
No,
forcing
and
to
even if
them,
she
don't
laughed,
smile.
how dare can Duryodhan act in this way of disrobing a woman? Was that laugh that big a deal? Absolutely not. Even if she had laughed. Although this entire story is cooked
Yeah,
up, yeah,
yes,
it
exactly,
doesn't exist. Draupadi's character is such that she is not so trivial to begin with,
exactly.
yeah. But even then, even we need to ask ourselves, how do we fall for such lazy assumptions, right? Why do we fall for such lazy assumptions and say, no, no, she was the cause of the war?
Right.
Shouldn't we see what happened before that, what happened after that, right? And whether the revenge that Duryodhan was trying to seek, was it even commensurate with what she had done,
Yeah.
right?
Even if
So
she has done this. Yeah.
Yes,
exactly, and this happens again because, as I said, mental lethargy to just arrive at a conclusion and quickly put blame on somebody, judge somebody, and dismiss it. That's it,
Yeah.
right?
To justify
Because
somebody's
then,
behavior. Yeah.
absolutely, because if we start digging deeper, what happens? We see that, oh, Duryodhan is still doing this, Karan is still doing this. Some characteristics which they are showing, the jealousy and ego, we have that, right? So if we accept the issue is with them, then we need to do something about our flaws also, no, which we don't want to do. It's very easy to say, oh, I was hurt, so I retaliated in this way, and I'm justified in doing it. Yeah.
exactly.
So somewhere this all goes back to us. We are
Yes,
trying to justify ourselves by,
yes,
sticking up for whoever we are sticking up and blaming
exactly.
whoever we are blaming.
Exactly. You like to identify with certain characters, and you will do that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'll just ask a question about the. So I think Girjaji, if you want to expand on it with what Mandodari tried to do to help Kaikeyi, you can do that. But my question is, Um, so I know somebody in my family. I mean, I know is like, okay, I feel like somebody in my family is experiencing some sort of a grief. Okay, I have a sense that they might be going through some issues. I don't have any proof of it, but the perceived suffering of that person is making me suffer. So, and Girjaji was mentioning that, she was trying to add, yeah, you can.
Yeah, because I heard her talking about Mandodari and how she tries to influence Kaikeyi, and she tells her that probably you were very beautiful and you were preferred wife of Dasharath, and you might have insulted other people, and so now when their
You
son
mean Manthara?
Manthara,
Without Mandodari.
sorry,
Manthara.
sorry,
I'm
yes,
sorry,
Manthara.
Yeah.
yes, okay.
So yeah, Manthara says that to Kaikeyi, and Kaikeyi says, "Okay, fine," and she begins to feel probably that is true that others may get angry with me. So it is all perceived fear. It doesn't exist.
She
They
tries
may
to
remember,
inject.
they may not remember, but
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
acts on the basis of that fear. So that is the question that I wanted to ask. What I was just saying, that many of us
Yeah.
operate from probably, perceived fear that, okay, this may be true, this may not even be
Mm.
true. The other person may not even entertain those thoughts
Yeah.
about you. They may not
Mm.
remember, and we operate from those fears. So she was
Correct.
talking about, the grief that she thinks that somebody is suffering, and the other person may not be actually suffering, right? So
Yeah. So, okay, I think these two situations are a little different, and I'll
Yeah, a
explain.
little different.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, possible.
One is if you think that there is somebody experiencing something, I would just ask, right? Now, after that, if you believe that they are resistant to say, then maybe they need their space, and I should absolutely respect that,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So again, it goes back to that. We can always ensure we send our positive vibes and show them compassion and be there for them, right? But sometimes people just need to grieve, and grieving is not bad at all. Yeah, it's okay to feel those emotions. It's okay to go through that. We are humans. Sometimes only by going through it we will get out of it. We will go beyond it, right? So it's perfectly okay to grieve.
so are you
So
talking about the grief that I am feeling, or are you talking about the grief that
that
the
they
other
might be
person?
feeling,
Okay, okay,
that they might be feeling, right?
okay.
Because your grief is, as Girija ji said, a perceived grief.
Right, right, right.
The example is a little different. The
Yeah,
the Kaikeyi comparison is a
mantra.
little
Yeah,
different, and
yeah,
I'll come to that. But your grief is a perceived grief based on a knowledge you don't have,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So once you just talk to that person, and if the person tells you, then you know it gets clarified.
Hmm.
Or the person might just behave or communicate in whatever way that they need space. Even then, you will know, right? So this is more about just communication. How I see this.
So
Now, let me explain the mantra thing,
yeah,
and then maybe you can tell me if there is an aspect of this
yeah,
here. The reason Kaikeyi listens to what mantra has to say is not only because there is a perceived fear, because there is an inherent guilt,
okay,
because she has actually done all those things.
okay,
hmm,
yes,
Yeah.
okay,
Now the thing is, till Manthara was telling Kaikeyi that, see, Ram will do this, Ram will harm Bharat. She didn't care.
yeah,
She was like, no, no, I know Ram. He's great. He deserves to be the king and all that. It didn't matter to her. But when Manthara started saying that, see what will happen. You've always looked down on your co-wife, Kaushalya. Yeah. You have always treated her unfairly. Now, when she becomes the mother of the king,
okay,
your status is going to change completely, right?
yeah,
People like you were laughing at her, now she will get a chance to laugh at you. What did she do? One, she stoked that guilt of Kaikeyi, and also the insecurity that comes with it, right? Because clearly Kaikeyi is thinking, if I was in her position, this is exactly what I would do. Yeah, she's doing it anyways. Why? Because she's the favorite king of Dashrath. So if she was in the position of Kaushalya and she had a chance to get back, she absolutely would. And that guilt is leading her to trust or to, is basically leading her to act the way she does.
yeah.
so she
Because there is a truth
compounds it
to that
now,
guilt and the insecurity.
right? She compounds it now with more
Yeah.
wrongdoings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But she's trying to avoid it. So it
Avoid.
is perceived, but that perception is not empty. It is because of her own guilt and her own insecurity, which now she feels because what she has done before
Exactly.
and the jealousy that is there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Yashoda may
So
not
that
have even remembered it. May not be even probably.
Kaushalya might not have
Kaushilya
done
may
it.
not have even remembered it. May not have
Correct.
even thought about it. Yeah.
Kaushalya might not have done it, but Kaushalya's stature would definitely increase, no?
Yes.
So
Yes.
the jealousy is
Yes.
there that now she's going to be better than me.
Yeah.
So it's everything. Even if Kaushalya wouldn't have done that, the stature was still going to increase.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another beautiful thing that you had explained is if we all say, "Oh, Ram and Sita must have suffered so much for 13 years in the forest," and you said it was their attitude that made it so beautiful because they led it like a honeymoon,
Correct.
right? So the worst of suffering can be made beautiful by the attitude because they also had asuras coming and fighting against them.
Correct.
At every place they went, there were problems, but still they looked at it with a very positive light, right? So
Absolutely.
until
There
Ram,
were physical problems, no doubt. I mean, it was not a luxury,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But they loved
Their
being with each
mind,
other.
yes,
Correct.
they loved each other so well, and it only grew with
Correct.
the years. It was so beautifully you had explained that. So I think these are the reasons why people should read it because the external circumstances we cannot control. So today, when children come here, say for example, if somebody is there in US and the wife is not able to come, they are not getting the green card. There are so many external circumstances that they cannot change, and then that makes them so miserable. But like you said, it is the attitude with which you look at the circumstances that makes life so easy,
So,
so beautiful.
so I'll just
But
follow
also even
quickly.
the misery, being the misery, right? So when Sita is kidnapped, 1 year Sriram goes through intense misery. He's also miserable, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you, so as I said, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel the negative emotions as well. There is no harm in that. We don't have to beat ourselves up for
Yes,
that at all. It is natural. We
yeah,
should allow ourselves to feel that as well. But if those emotions start impacting our decisions, then that's a problem.
exactly.
So, what is the answer out of this, right?
Yeah,
Continue to feel, but always still be aware that when it comes to making a decision,
yes,
have that sense of objectivity. Now, how does that come? Through practice. Practice of
absolutely.
what? There are many things that we have, but
So,
essentially through our scripture is the practice of yoga. Basically, disciplining the mind. That
even
doesn't
if
mean we won't feel. We will continue to feel, and we should. But we should know where to now control the mind and bring the brain at the forefront. And where it is okay to let the mind feel and the heart feel all it does.
so even if he did not have pramana for a few months, Rama was already like feeling. Um I mean,
Oh,
of course, there is the
absolutely.
angst of separation. There is the angst of separation, of course, and then there is the suffering because of the perceived suffering of Sita. Okay. For me, I think what I'm taking away is if the other person is giving me some hints about, I just need some space to maybe either process that themselves or something. Maybe I should just be patient and see how this whole thing unravels instead of just mulling over something that I'm not really, if
You
I don't have the
express it
knowledge.
to them that you're available for them, right? That's the
Yeah,
best you can do. You
yeah.
ask them if they want to, if they think they are comfortable saying, they will. If not, you just express it to them that you're available for them.
Okay.
Sometimes just that okay, there is somebody who's going to be there for me. I might not need that help, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that how do I say, that support, that yeah, if I need, this person is there for me, this person thinks about me, sometimes that is enough to make us feel better and gain our confidence. Yeah. So just because you're anyways thinking so deeply about it, right, you
Yeah.
anyways care for them, that's obvious. So just let them know that you're there for them, and then let them take a call how they want to handle it.
From my side, I should do whatever I can and then leave it at that. And then okay, that's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah. So I just I have a few more questions, but in the interest of time, I mean, I told you 1 hour, but it's 1 hour plus. Maybe a couple of more questions from the audience, and then
Okay,
we
okay.
will we'll do a round two. How about that, Ami? Come on, say yes, yes, yes. There you
Sure.
go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
here SS is asking. I heard that the Puranas have been rewritten during the Gupta period. I can understand why this was done, but would request Amy G's opinion. Also, where are the original scripts? Is this a valid question?
So we had, okay, now I don't have an exact answer to this, but I will say that our tradition was always an oral tradition, right? Writing happened much later. So for that matter, most of our Shastras have been written much later than when they were composed. For the longest time, there was an oral tradition.
Yeah.
Now, was there a manuscript which got written during the Gupta period, or the Gupta period was when they actually started just compiling some of this? Because the era of the Gupta period itself is, people have a question mark on that itself. Some people say that it's actually many years before what it is supposed to be. Yeah. So we don't really have an answer to that. But if the question is that have have some of these texts been have they grown over time? Has there been more additions, deletions from it? I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure some of it might have happened, especially in the Puranas. Especially in the Puranas. Itihas, not so much, because there still requires to be some sort of how do I say, continuity, right? Even in that, there has been, and that is why we've had all this whole critical edition, the work that of critical edition that has been undertaken for Itihas. Now, what is a critical edition? So, when our Shastras started getting written, right, it is not as if there was only one person who knew it and who was writing it, because it was an oral tradition. The stories had spread far and wide. Again, it was in Sanskrit and in a chanda, in a certain meter format. The reason we have a meter format is to preserve the text to a great extent. Yeah, because you can't just make a meter and make it's easy to manipulate prose, not so much to manipulate something that is written in a meter format, right? So that was the idea, and also that's how. But still, there were shishyas who took the stories to different places. Even when the writing would have happened, it would have happened in different places. That is why there are lots of manuscripts of these texts available. Yeah. So what they did for Ramayana and Mahabharata in the early 20th century is that they said, okay, let's try and find out if we can get to the most authentic version. Yeah.
Yes.
That, and the most authentic and consistent version that we can get to from what we have right now. Now, where is the original one?
Nobody knows.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
We have no clue about it. But what they did is, as far as possible, as back in the years they could go, they collected all the manuscripts written in Devanagari, written in Sharda script, all of that, yeah. And a 50+ year exercise was undertaken to compare these manuscripts and come up with a story which was common across all of them. So there were about 1,260 manuscripts which were found across India for Mahabharata. Yeah. Of that, Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, they have come up with the critical edition. Now, how do they make the critical edition? What they do is they look at the different manuscripts and they see what are the common parts. So, for example, if there is one incident which appears in one manuscript but not in 10, then the probability of that being an interpolation is higher.
Right.
Yes.
And if one appears in many, then
Yeah.
there is a chance that it was there
With the
even
same
in the
channel.
original. Only then that would have stayed. So that way they could identify what are some of these interpolated pieces and came up with a Gori critical edition. Is it perfect? Maybe not, but that is the best we have. Yeah, that is the best we have. And interestingly, a lot of myths we have today are not because of the manuscripts, because those myths don't occur in any of the manuscripts.
Yeah.
Even if there were differences to it, the consistency of character across manuscripts is quite the same. In different versions it changes. Yeah. So when I say manuscripts, these are Vyas's Mahabharata, Vyasji Rachit Mahabharata, not other versions. Like there
Right.
are other versions. Similarly, when I say Ramayana, I'm talking about Valmiki Ramayana. Everything else are versions written later. That is different. But when we say Itihas, we are talking about Valmiki Ramayana and Vyasji's Itihas. Do we have something like this on Quran, a critical edition? I don't think so. But to your question, would there have been addition, subtraction to it? For sure. Were Purans written later? In fact, people say that Purans were still getting written until the 11th century. Yeah. A lot of things were added to, especially the Purans.
Oh.
Some Purans are much later, again, because we have so many, the 18 main Purans and even more beyond. There, the chronology for that is actually not clearly known, and some actually are quite recent as well, as we are told.
I'm
So
worried.
there's one
I'm worried that critical edition will be released by WhatsApp University also. I'm really worried that that might also happen. So,
no,
so
it's a very, very intense exercise. The whole critical edition, making of a critical edition is
yeah,
a very, very,
that's
very
amazing.
intense exercise.
That you have the right answer for SSG. That's amazing. Thank you, Ami. So here, Rocky Ji has a question. Please enlighten us on the recent Ramcharitmanas controversy. Section claims the epic is anti-Dalits.
That's the issue. Why are we looking everything from this caste community? Da 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 da. Has Sri Ram said anything about any specific community? In Ramcharitmanas, now I'm not talking about Valmiki Ramayana because Ramcharitmanas has lots of things which probably are different from Valmiki Ramayana. So let that be. In Ramcharitmanas, he is shown to eat the meat, the jute bear of Shabri. Yeah. If it was anti-Dalit, anti-whatever caste and stuff, would that happen? That wouldn't have happened. In fact, it's the most inclusive text in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Guha, Kaivat, the characters. These are not high caste characters, but the love that Sri Ram has for all of them, right? For
Yes.
all of them, it is immense. He hugs them. What does it show? If they were untouchables, he
Exactly.
wouldn't have. But he's done all of that, which means this is a text which is actually inclusive, right? Let's look at it from one more angle. Till the longest period of time, all our shastras were largely written in Sanskrit. Yeah, over time, for the masses, as the local vernacular languages started becoming more important and more used in day-to-day terms, they lost access to Sanskrit the way probably their ancestors had, right? To make it accessible to everybody, to make the story of Sri Ram accessible to everybody, Tulsidas ji actually composed it in Avadhi to make it accessible to everybody. The Brahmins were still learning Sanskrit, so it was
Yeah.
not for them. It
Yeah.
was for the others in the society.
Yes.
From that perspective, what
Compensate.
Tulsidas ji has done is actually a social samanvay of sorts, right? And
Absolutely.
in that, there is one verse through somebody's mouth, which is not Sri Ramji.
Yeah.
We are taking it and making it anti-Dalit. Like, seriously. Yeah, that is why the drishti to read the text is very important. It's very easy to judge and give all sorts of identity lenses to it, but that was never the idea of our texts.
Very true. If the head of an institution doesn't say it, and then somebody who opens the door, the Darwan says that, and then you give importance only to that. It's like that, right? The head of the institution doesn't say anything, and then you don't look at that at all, and you're just saying that is the culture of the organization. So
Correct.
very sad. There is another question that Rakiji has asked. That is, he says that during the Amrit Manthan, that Mohini and Shiva, they both got together, and Sri Ayyappa was born, and he became a Brahmachari. So he's becoming a Naishtik Brahmachari. How does it help the universe? This is another question that young people ask. Becoming a Brahmachari, how does it help the people? Why did you do?
Becoming a But I mean, that is a person's choice, right? To become a brahmachari or become a grahastha. And the beauty of our Sanatan Dharma is that it allows people to have that, it allows people to make those choices in life, right?
Choices.
Now, brahmacharya is not for everybody. Largely, it is a grahasthashram, which people are encouraged to follow because if every other ashram, every part of the society depends on the strength of the grahasthashram because that's where the resource generation happens, right?
Yes.
That's where the money gets made, that's where the anna and all that is taken care of, which is needed for the society.
Right.
But there are others who have that inclination towards brahmacharya, yeah, and it is through that brahmacharya that they also attain some kinds of siddhis, which
Yes.
is true for Ayyappa, which is true for Hanumanji. So in certain uh, paths, he's believed to be a brahmachari. In certain other paths, he's not. Yeah. But anyways, so these were the choices which those individuals made. People didn't make it for them.
Correct.
So if Swami Ayyappa became a brahmachari, we don't have to see whether his brahmacharya helped people. We have to see whether his actions help people or not. Right? It is not just the brahmacharya part which is important. That is one of the things which he chose, which helped him retain, gain power, achieve siddhi, vagere, vagere. Because brahmacharya is also a type of tapasya. Yeah, it is not easy. It is also a type of tapasya. He chose to do this tapasya.
Yes.
And again, that is also only one rupa, right? There are
Right.
Kartikeya Swami, we know he's married as well and he has wives as well. So this is a specific rupa, and every rupa is born for a certain goal. Yeah. Now I don't know the entire Ayyappa story, so I would not be able to explain that. But I'm sure that he was born for a certain goal. Hence, that rupa chose to be a brahmachari to be able to do that tapasya, gain those powers to be able to do what he was meant to do in that life. So
Yes.
we need to look at it from that perspective. Was that action beneficial for the society rather than what he chose to do as his tapasya?
Yes. Got it. Absolutely. Yes, Rachana, go ahead.
So I have a truckload of other questions, but I'll just reserve all of them for the next time. Ami, I want you to tell us something like a takeaway that will just energize us, all of us who are like looking to transcend our daily struggles, just like too much of drama, fighting fires at work, like whatever, right? Just how do you in the morning I'm like ready to conquer the day, but like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3, I don't know. So how do you keep up with that energy? I'm sure it's like 10 o'clock plus for you, but you're still
No,
like,
no, as I go through all this as well. Yeah, I go through all of this as well. But there
yeah.
is one thing that keeps me going. So I always tell myself that Krishna has brought me till here. He will take care of me aage also. I think that really helps, right?
Yes.
What was I anyways? He ensured I come to here. It is his problem to ensure I reach wherever I need to reach, right? So he will do it. Let him just guide me and I'll do. Not
Exactly.
my problem.
Wow.
That really, really helps me.
That's amazing. That's
So I
amazing.
would say just have that Shraddha, यहाँ तक लाए है ना, आगे ले ही जाएंगे. He's
Exactly.
taken care of us till now. He will take care. Whoever you believe as Ishta, why not?
Wow.
Absolutely.
You're just making all this spiritual talk about self, looking inward, and everything so hip and happening. I'm just so excited that a person like you is talking about all these things, because I have so many people in my life who look like you, who are so deeply, deeply stuck in Maya. And of course, I'm talking from a place of spiritual ego. Okay, look, I'm so much better than you because at least I know, like, this is all Maya.
Rachnaji, I must say, I have a lot of Maya. I have not transcended any Maya. I have just been lucky in life to be exposed to certain things which probably others are not. That's it. And I have an opportunity to talk about it. Baki Maya to bahut hai. Uske paas bhi hua, that's fine. I think I'm okay with that for now. I've made my peace with it.
Okay. No, but you did not wear big, big jhumke like me, or like you're not
Oh, you can
sure.
see it. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just messing with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. Girjaji, anything that you want to say?
No, I just wanted to say that you're so inspiring. Every day we listen, even if you have listened to something, again, I would like to listen. So we keep listening to that. So wherever you are invited, please go and speak, because we'll have more to listen to and feel inspired. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks a
And
lot.
Rocky ji यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं कि please record podcasts and put them on Spotify so everybody can listen to them as bedtime stories.
Actually, YouTube पे तो बहुत है. Like even
Yeah.
we do this entire Bhagavad Gita. We did a
Yeah.
reading session with youngsters. I think
Yeah.
that was amazing. उसमें I think the value was in the discussions, because they were all youngsters and there was
Yeah.
so much churn that happened. But
I
yeah,
saw your Zoom
Spotify, I'm
sessions
really bad
that
with.
you put on YouTube. I
हाँ.
saw your Zoom sessions that you put on YouTube. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
These
very
are just youngsters reading groups and stuff.
it's very
But
nice to
yeah, if
see
it
young
helps, please
people.
do look it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the Sham Sharma show where you introduced that book, which my son saw, and then he said, "Okay, I'm going to."
Kushal's show.
Yes, yes. So he
Kushal,
said,
yeah.
Yeah, he saw that and then he says, okay, I saw this book, I'm buying it. And then he bought it and then he was raving about it every day.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I hope he reads Ramayana as well.
He will. Now already he has said that I've seen it and I'm going to buy it right now.
That's amazing that in 2 years you have churned out so much, and but leading up to that, people don't see all the work that has led up to that, right? People just see, as you were saying in one of the podcasts, it was COVID, and you had that downtime where you were thinking of all these, and they all came about in the form of book. But I'm sure so much of it led up to you.
I was studying for a long time, but
Yeah.
as I said, not with an objective of doing much with it. It was
Yeah.
just out of my curiosity.
For
So
yourself.
yeah, I think it just came together
Yeah.
during the COVID time. But the studying has been happening for a while.
So
That was
and
not your
glad
intention.
that
That was a divine intention.
exactly.
It's all him. There's nothing me. It's
Yes,
all him.
My very good friend says ki if you have invented a cancer drug, like why would you hide it, right? So glad that you, of all the synthesis and everything that you did, you put them out there for everybody else also to consume, because it's not easy what you did. So
those who do not know the language are
yeah,
those who are very, it's too late for them to study. They will at least have access to all this. Why should we deny? Absolutely
thank you,
beautiful.
thank you so much,
Thank you
Ami.
so much. Look forward to again interacting with you.
Thank you.
It's
In
brilliant.
in 6 weeks, I'm going to bug you again. Thank you.
Sure. We'll find it out. We'll find
Thank
something.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.